Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty here with Wednesday Chapter 8, A Murder of Woes, and I have a page and a half of notes for this one, the season finale, so let's just jump right in. I hated this title every time I saw it because A Murder of Woes just sounds like stupid, and I realized just before recording this that it's probably a play on Murder of Crows. So the episode kicks off with Wednesday meeting Tyler alone, which, given that she just learned he is the monster, seems pretty risky and really is a bad habit of hers. And she mentions Xavier's warning to her, and how he apparently had told her Tyler was dangerous. I mean, he didn't warn you Tyler was the monster, and even in terms of dangerous, he said that Tyler attacked him and ruined his artwork. I don't know if that's a leap to he's a dangerous monster. And freaking Wednesday still believes the therapist is Laurel Gates, and she keeps questioning him about oh, did you do this? Why did you kill her? Were you tired of following her orders? And on top of that, it's have you completely forgotten that a Hyde might not be aware of their killings and all that? And one of the things that she says is that the therapist burned the cave while he was at the dance. That's her theory of how things played out. But then it's to be fair, that is legit, because it's how could any other character have burned that cave when they were all pretty much at the dance? And She talks about how his scratch at the mansion was a clever misdirect, and it's was it? It was a stupidly small scratch. And the very fact that he survived after an encounter with the monster, it wasn't really a clever misdirect at all. But Tyler does ask a smart question where he's if you really think I'm the monster, why are you meeting with me alone? Only surprise, Wednesday's actually not alone. But in a rather odd choice, she has a random group of people. I think these are supposed to be the Nightshades, but Bianca is there, Ajax is there, and then it's a bunch of other people. And it's oh, I don't think any of them are Enid. I don't know who most of these people are. They've been in a few episodes, but the only one I ever recognize is the merman. I do think the merman is there. And I'm just what's her plan here? So Bianca uses her siren powers to basically stop Tyler from leaving. And I'm just why don't they use that to charm answers out of him? Isn't that a thing that can happen? You'd think, right? So he wakes up chained in Xander's shed, and I'm gonna feel legit bad for him if he doesn't know that he's a Hyde or that he's killed people, because this really sucks for him. And it's revealed that his mother actually. Some people are talking in the hall. I hope this doesn't pick that up. They're being really loud. Ugh. But they have the fencing photo that they kept showing us with Morticia in it, and apparently Tyler's mom, Francois, was actually an outcast. She was a Hyde too. And he's Wednesday says if only I had been focused so much on my mother, I might have noticed yours. And it's how would you have noticed that? You didn't know what his mother looked like. You didn't know what her name was. And her last name is probably even not her name in that photo. And it is revealed that the mom was a Hyde, and that Tyler actually knew his mom was an outcast. And they seem to think that they can handle him being a Hyde if he turns out to be one. I'm not entirely sure of that. And Wednesday shocks him with a taser and is planning to torture him, which, again, considering he might not even be aware that he is a Hyde, is pretty horrible. And I actually do respect that the others are all immediately hey, whoa, not okay, and they all leave. But there's also the fact that they leave, and it's maybe you should stay there and stop her, because inaction can be just as terrible, especially she's planning to torture him. We get the full opening this time. And then we cut to the sheriff, and I finally learned the therapist's name is Valerie Kinbot because it's written on the box. And the sheriff is listening to her therapy recordings, which are about Tyler's increasing instability. Then we cut to the headmistress' office, where at the very least we learn that these students, the Nightshades, have gone to Weems to tell him. Yeah, because the sheriff gets a call from Weems. That's how we do the cut. But at least they did something. And we cut to Tyler pleading with Wednesday to stop. I think he needed more tears. He didn't seem upset enough. But the sheriff bursts in as she's about to whack him with some I don't know, crowbar or something, and is get away from my son. And I gotta admire his restraint, because he has a gun pointed right at her, and he'd probably technically be justified in shooting her, considering she was like 2 seconds away from severely hurting him. At least if he's a human. Maybe even if he's a Hyde, I don't know. And so we cut to Wednesday at the police station, and apparently the sheriff is not pressing charges, which is somewhat respectable, but Wednesday calls the sheriff out like, oh, you totally know your son's the Hyde and whatnot. And he basically just kicks her out. Headmistress Weems takes her out, but Tyler wants to talk with Wednesday. And the sheriff is totally against this, and his fear is actually pretty understandable considering what she was doing. But he allows the meeting to happen, only for Tyler to ask Wednesday what it feels like to lose. So he's fully aware that he is the monster. Admits that originally when it would happen, he would wake up naked and confused, but became more aware, and he loves it, and he's clearly a bad guy. I still don't agree with the torture, though, because she wouldn't know that. And I am hoping that she tells people, like the headmistress, about this happening. We cut to Wednesday in the headmistress's office, and we learn that in exchange for not pressing charges, the sheriff is demanding she be expelled, which, I mean, is pretty fair. Weems doesn't trust Wednesday, even when she tells her about Tyler, which, I don't know, I'm of two minds on it, because on one hand, you can kind of see why she might not, but especially with the whole Xavier thing, but I don't know that Wednesday's the type who would lie about something like this necessarily. She does make the comment that Tyler was the one who framed Xavier, so apparently it wasn't Wednesday. Which is kind of a shame, because I think I liked it better when it was Wednesday. And, oh yeah, Wednesday doesn't trust Weems, but we already knew that. And Weems did know about the mother being at the school, but did not know she was a Hyde, which kind of brings up my earlier point of why did Nevermore bother banning Hydes if they had no way to be sure someone was one. And I feel like she's overall been pretty useless, which is kind of disappointing. So Wednesday breaks into the jail, sheriff's office, I don't know, wherever they're holding Xavier with some chains, and I'm not entirely convinced this could hold him if he was the Hyde. But, and again, their security sucks. Like, you think they'd have learned something after that gum camera incident, but apparently not. Wednesday brings up the psychic connection between him and the monster, which is never addressed in the episode. I kind of want to know. I accidentally paused the recording. Like, I'm totally at a loss as to how much time I have left, which is so frustrating. But, so, Xavier is ticked off at Wednesday and doesn't want to help her at all, because she ruined his life. And while his anger is, again, pretty justified, though slightly less since she didn't frame him, it's like, you need the real Hyde exposed, too. Like, that's your best way of getting out of here. And he tells her to just leave, because that's the way to stop the prophecy from happening. But it's like, well, I mean, if the prophecy is Wednesday stopping Crackstone and Wednesday leaves, then it won't happen in the sense that Wednesday won't be there to stop him and he'll just go unstopped. Wednesday is back in her room, packing stuff up. I love the case she has for her typewriter. That seems pretty cool. Like the sliding lock thingy it has. And she asks Enid if Enid is going to move in with Yoko, which, like, why would she do that? She gets her own room now. And she talks about how she will think of Enid every time she sees rainbows, and it's like, oh, Skittles will make me think of Enid. I totally think we're going to get the hug here, but we don't. And then Wednesday's all like, Xavier was right, if I leave the prophecy can't happen. But, like, again, you think you're supposed to save the school, so, yeah. It doesn't really make sense. But Enid has good news. Eugene apparently woke up, and I think that maybe Wednesday will initiate a hug when they say their final goodbyes, but no. Doesn't happen. As Wednesday leaves, she encounters the Nightshades, who are apologetic for getting her expelled. That was never their intention. But Wednesday just tells them that they need to be ready to protect the school. So apparently she is aware of the possibility of danger. So Thornhill gives Wednesday a plant and sees her off. And it's like, I was expecting, like, the plant to be a clue. Like, she'd be on her way and then would, like, oh, this plant is this. And she'd realize it, but... And I could tell Headmistress Weems was approaching because you could just hear her heels. She's so loud. But she does allow Wednesday to visit Eugene on the way to the train station. And there's bee plushies everywhere and bee balloons. A bee-loon, if you will. And Wednesday apologizes to Eugene for, like, I shouldn't have gone to the dance, I should have been with you. But, like, while it sucks to cancel the plans, he shouldn't have gone alone. That was really, really stupid. And I'm waiting for him to give us a useful clue. Because that's another thing that could happen. And sure enough, he's like... oh, I didn't really see who it was. There was but I did see their boots, and it's like, we all flash back simultaneously to the first episode where they drew attention to the boots of Thornhill. And I'm kind of surprised that's how Wednesday figures out who the monster's ally or whatever is. Because red boots? Like, really? First of all, they look pink with splashes of red. But, like, you don't think anyone else in town wears red boots? It's very, very weak, and she has, like, no other proof. But suddenly we see Wednesday somehow at the school again, where she confronts Thornhill after we see Thornhill fill a syringe, so that's not going to go well. And again, confronting the person she considers the threat alone. And I get she couldn't tell Weems or whatever, but this seems, like, ridiculous of her. Like, learn a lesson. And Thornhill, of course, like, she could easily deny it, we all know this, but she's like, oh, you can't keep making crazy accusations, you know, that there's going to be consequences, and it's like, what are these consequences going to be? Like, are you going to, like, stab me? And she claims that Tyler told her everything, and Tyler suddenly shows up, and it's like, why would Tyler do that? And apparently she learned about the family being Hyde's from her dad, and it's like, why would her dad do that? Like, what dad is like, so my 6-year-old daughter or whatever, did you know this family are Hyde's? Like, I guess he could have mentioned it in passing, but it still seems, like, really weird. And she's pretty horrible. Like, we get, like a flashback to her torturing Tyler in the cave to basically break him and make him her slave. And it still seems weird that Tyler is apparently suddenly not on her side. But she, like, gets close to him and is like, think of what they did to your mom. And apparently sees Wednesday as a pawn in a much bigger game, because she was never actually going to let Wednesday get on that train somehow. And what happened to Tyler's mom? Like, do we actually know what happened to her? But, so after Thornhill says all this, Wednesday turns to Tyler and is like, brings up the train station thing, like, I was never going to get to the train station. And suddenly, Tyler transforms into Weems, which, like, wow, I actually liked that twist. But it stops being cool in about 2 seconds when Thornhill easily stabs Weems with that syringe, and Weems is seemingly poisoned and potentially dead for real. I totally thought someone was going to save her. Cut to Enid, who is making out with Ajax, clearly enjoying her privacy, and almost gets him with her claws. It's pretty dangerous. That the Flight of the Bumblebees, I think it's called, plays, and it's Eugene on her phone. And he reveals how Wednesday and Weems went to confront Thornhill, who was the mastermind. And I'm glad they at least told him, you know. And it's like, you go, Eugene, tell them everything. And I'm hoping they'll go save Weems. Meanwhile, we cut to Eugene in the hospital, who, after having been, like, left on the phone, is, like, getting out of bed. And it's like, yeah, you go, Eugene, you go save the day. And his mom pretty much just lets him go. Like, she protests, but she doesn't stop him. We cut to Wednesday being held by some chains in Crackstone's crypt, and these look like they're barely on her. I'm not sure how she's not free. Tyler appears in front of her to mock her, and I just wish she'd kick him. She doesn't. And apparently, Laurel Gates, Thornhill's family, are Crackstone's descendants. And I'm just thinking they have Wednesday here because they need her blood. But yeah, they want to bring him back because, I don't know, what's he gonna do? Like, he's a pilgrim. And apparently when Goody killed him in some way, I really thought we'd learn more on that, she cursed his soul, and they need Wednesday's blood because she's Goody's descendant. Of course, I knew it. And Thornhill says, like, all the effort she put in making Wednesday feel special was to keep her alive to be sacrificed, and it's like, you didn't really make her feel special. Like, you guys barely interacted. They really needed more scenes with some of these characters. But anyway, we cut to the sheriff driving Xavier in his cop car. I'm not sure where he's taking him. And the sheriff is called by the deputy lady or whatever, and learns that Eugene's mom called her saying that there's something going on at the school, but none of the cops can get there because all their tires are slashed. I'm not sure who did that. Was that supposed to be Tyler? Why was the dad's car not damaged? But, so, sheriff decides he's going to go, and he's apparently taking Xavier with him, like, again, this just seems like a bad idea. So, back in the crypt, Thornhill cuts Wednesday's hand and presses it to the coffin. That is not a sacrifice. And she is so ecstatic, and it's like, she is acting like she is summoning freaking Voldemort here, you know? Like, she is so into this. Like Voldemort at least was a powerful dark wizard. This is a pilgrim. And he looks pretty lame. Like, they have him, like, look like old, basically. And I don't know if he was old when he died. He has pointy fingernails, too. I'm not sure what's up with that. But he doesn't look particularly threatening. They probably should have kept his young appearance. I feel like that would have been more effective. But anyway, she babbles on about how, how important he is to her. And I totally thought he was going to kill her, you know? Like, but he doesn't. He does, however, stab Wednesday when she, having picked her cuffs, tries to attack him. Well, it doesn't really attack him. She just kind of stands there and does nothing. We cut to Enid in the Nightshade's hideout in a super cute pink coat with Ajax. And she finally names all these freaking characters who show up, but we don't know who is who, and I still don't know. Like, it's a bit too late for names. I fear Weems is doomed at this point if none of them have gone to, like, give her an antidote. Back in the crypt, Wednesday is in bad shape, and Goody appears to her, revealing that she can heal her, but will not be seen by Wednesday anymore as a result. Because, as it turns out, that necklace is super important. It's a conduit for spirits. So, I was right from the very first episode, Chekhov's necklace. We cut to the sheriff as he leaves Xavier with he apparently has a tracker on Tyler. And I'm kind of wondering if the sheriff legitimately doesn't know that Tyler is the Hyde. The Nightshades evacuate the school with the sirens all using their siren song. It's pretty clever. I'm glad they're doing things and being useful. I just wish we knew who most of them were. Enid, meanwhile, is with Thing going after Wednesday, only to suddenly start woofing out. Which, timing, I don't know if it's terrible or good timing, but I also don't know if Enid will be in control of her werewolf self. It's not really super addressed. They have those cages, but... So, Tyler turns into a monster and attacks Wednesday, and I kind of found myself wondering, because the sheriff is in the list too, if the sheriff will end up killing Tyler. Like, I want to respect the sheriff more. You know, I want to have him do something useful. And Enid shows up and attacks Tyler to save Wednesday, and Wednesday's just like, okay, you got this, girl, I'm gonna go to the school, bye. And so she just leaves Enid. And Enid comes this close to being killed by Tyler before the sheriff does in fact shoot him. Well, that happens a little later, but we'll get there. So, Crackstone continues to be a jerk, tells Thornhill to shut up and go away, and she does. And he's using magic, which, again, for a non-outcast is weird. Why is he suddenly a sorcerer? He's using magic. I don't think he actually kills anybody, so he's basically being useless. That's when the whole sheriff shoots him and Enid is saved. Enid then subsequently saves the sheriff when the Hyde attacks him. And apparently, Sheriff legitimately wasn't aware that Tyler was the Hyde, even if he had some suspicion. Tyler transforms back, and the sheriff is, like, holding him, and it's not clear if he's dead or alive. Enid also transforms back. That didn't last very long. Thing goes to comfort her, and she's apparently naked. I don't know what we're going to do about that. Wednesday grabs what looks like the sword her father used in that flashback scene. It looks super dull. Goody had told her that she needed to stab Crackstone in his black heart, and I'm just like, as she goes to confront him, I'm just like, are Xavier and B's going to save the day? And right after this, Xavier tries to attack Crackstone by firing an arrow at him, and fails miserably. He nearly dies, but survives because Wednesday takes the arrow. And suddenly he cares about her, but she tells him to go help evacuate, so he goes back to being basically irrelevant. He did not accomplish anything in this scene, really. Wednesday shows off some pretty cool moves. The Crackstone is not cool at all. He does manage to break the sword, though. I knew that was not a good sword. I'm just wondering what the final weapon will be, like, thinking it's going to be something super useful. Not really. Like, Bianca suddenly shows up and stabs him as he's nearly killing Wednesday. I thought it was going to be Eugene in that moment, so I'm just like, is Eugene going to end up stopping Thornhill? But Wednesday, with this distraction, is able to finish off the, I think she uses the remainder of the sword to kill Crackstone, so it was a little underwhelming. I don't feel like he actually accomplished much of anything or was even a genuine threat. So, yeah. And Thornhill comes out with the gun. It's like, well, now she finally brings a gun to things. I feel like she could have done this a lot sooner. I'm still not sure what her motive was for most of this, or how the frick she burned the cave when she was at the dance. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Tyler was also at the dance, so how did he attack Eugene? Very weird. But anyway, I hope we're not going over time. But she is stopped from firing by, I guessed it, bees! Bees everywhere! And she's trying to shoot the bees, which is stupid because they're bees! Like, you could just run. And it's just like, yeah, you go, Eugene! And Eugene shows up, and she's like, that's what you get for messing with Nevermore, and he calls her the B word. It was like, Eugene saving the day was pretty cool. I kind of wish they'd had Eugene pull a Neville and, like, stab Crackstone. I think that would have been cooler, but Wednesday takes it from there. I'm wondering if they're actually going to have her, like, flat-out murder Thornhill, but she just kicks her. So, we never do find out what happened to Thornhill after this. Everyone, all the Nevermore students are gathered in the woods, and they point because someone has shown up, and it turns out to be Enid, wearing something. I don't know what she's wearing. And she stumbles, like, towards them, and Ajax goes to comfort her, and they have this moment where it's like, where's Wednesday? And you almost think it's, like, they're trying to, like, almost build it up as a sad moment, like, oh, Wednesday might be dead, but we know she's alive, so I don't know. And she runs to Wednesday when she sees her, and it's like, are they finally gonna hug? And yes, they hug. And is Wednesday gonna return the hug? Yes, she does. And after this touching moment, we cut to Lurch getting Wednesday's stuff at the school. And at first I thought, like, oh, is she still expelled? Like, how's that working? But then I thought maybe it's just the semester ending because they do show her sitting at her desk typing. And Lurch is there, so it wouldn't make sense if she was expelled. But what happened to Tyler? So, anyway, Wednesday finishes her story. Her and Enid meet in Weems's office, and I'm still hoping she's going to turn out to be alive when they're talking about how much she cared about the school, but I guess not. I bet the next headmaster is going to be evil. It's going to be the Defense Against the Dark Arts thing from Harry Potter. And we learned that classes were apparently canceled for the rest of the semester, which is pretty realistic. Way better than Hogwarts, where kids are getting, like, attacked, and they're still holding classes or whatever, but... So she thanks Bianca and says her farewells to her, to Enid, meets up with Xavier, who again accomplished very little, and he gives her a phone. So I guess she gets something out of it. Does she ever apologize to him? And as she departs, he asks if she will be back to Nevermore next year. She doesn't answer, but I know this got renewed for a season 2, so odds are high. As Wednesday is riding away in the Addams family car, she gets a message on her phone from an unknown contact, which how would anyone... Like, we know Xavier put his own information on the phone, but how would anyone else's be in there? Although, I guess she should have gotten, like, Enid's or something, but... And it reveals that she is being watched. They show the picture of her with Xavier, and I think the picture of her with Enid, and then, like, a gif of her getting stabbed, which, how does that exist? So, apparently she's got a stalker now, and we see Lurch is driving the car, and... Like, hey, interesting thought, Lurch has been in more episodes than the rest of the Addams family members outside of Wednesday, so good for you, Lurch. I hope you get to do more next season. We do learn Tyler is alive. He's being driven in a car that passes Wednesdays, and he's super chained up, but then he starts to transform, so apparently they didn't think this through, and something bad's gonna happen. So that was Wednesday. I think I might just do a review video, because I don't think I have a lot of time left on this recording. But I liked it overall. I think the mystery really fell apart at the end. A lot of unanswered questions. I don't like that they killed off the headmistress. You know, like, they finally had her doing something useful. And they didn't say what happened to Thornhill. There's a lot that doesn't make sense. They tried too hard to force your thoughts certain ways, and it didn't really work. And, like, most of the characters never felt suspicious. Like, when it came to who would be the monster and who would be manipulating the monster, so... I don't know if I'll end up doing a full video, but what did you think of Season 1 of Wednesday? What do you hope the second season does? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!